How we doing, Bruins fans? Welcome into another episode of the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast, episode number 12 on Thursday, November 14th, 2024. And we're going to stay football-centric here for today's podcast, just talking about a few storylines ahead of the Bruins game against the Washington Huskies on the road in Seattle on Friday night, and then a couple recruiting pieces as well. And we talk about the star linebacker, Carson Schwetzinger. He got a big-time interview from BTN earlier this week, so we'll break it all down. But first, want to give a shout-out to Fans First Sports Network, allowing us to bring you content daily. You can follow myself, Tom Cavanaugh, at TCav30 on Twitter. And then if you want to follow our insider pages, go to Twitter/X and Facebook at UCLA Insider on SI. And then if you want all of our stories at the fingertips, just in your search bar, type in UCLA Bruins on SI to get all of our daily content. So we'll start with a leading storyline. It's going to be two first-year head coaches going at it in this game. Deshaun Foster for the Bruins and head coach Jedd Fisch, first-year head coach of the Huskies. He came over in place of former head coach Kalen DeBoer, who took the Huskies to the national championship last year. He ultimately got the job at Alabama, taking over for Saban, and that trickle-down effect has landed Fisch in Seattle for the first year, and they got off to a good start. They're 5-1 at home. Overall, a 5-5 team, have had struggles of late, losing 3 of their last 4 games. So this is a bounce back spot for Washington, but for the Bruins, they're looking to keep a 3-game win streak alive, trying to make it 4 in a row, become 500, and just get to 1 win away from becoming bowl eligible. We talked about all that yesterday. If you want to find that, go on the Fans First Sports Network. Stick on this podcast, the UCLA Insiders Podcast on SI, and you'll be able to find all of our past episodes talking and breaking that down. So Fisch, he's no stranger to this UCLA team. He coached the Bruins back in 2017. So he was the offensive coordinator for a majority of the season when Jim Mora, in his 7th year or so, was the head coach at the time. Bruins lose to USC at home. They lose 28-23, close game, but the Bruins decide to fire Jim Mora. And after doing that, they call up Fisch and say, hey, we'd like you to be the head coach to finish out the year. They already kind of were planning on getting Chip Kelly in the building, who would be the next head coach of UCLA. But Fisch, turning from OC to head coach, he had them win their final game of the year against Cal. They made a bowl game, ultimately lost to Kansas State, but that was Jedd's first real taste of being a head coach. And from there, he went on a couple different stints, just finished up several years with an impressive run at the University of Arizona, and now he's landed here with the Huskies. So, Jedd's been all over the Pac-12. When he was at Arizona, the past 3 seasons, he had played against the Bruins, so he's very familiar with their scheme and everything, but also facing a new staff in head coach Deshaun Foster, offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. It's going to be a little bit different for Fisch, even though he is quite familiar with the Bruins. In Fisch's press conference earlier this week, he had this to say regarding his opportunity to become head coach for those couple of games, interim head coach, as it were. He said, I always wanted to be a head coach. There was never a doubt while I was growing up in the profession that I wanted one day the opportunity to run a team. It certainly gave me some insight to what it was going to take to be a head coach. It certainly was a big jump from a coordinator. And yeah, it was. I think kind of baptism by fire in that aspect for him, because it really kickstarted his career as a leader of men, controlling Division I teams. And that's just where it started 7 years ago. And he has quickly grown and has taken over a program that went to a national championship. They won the Pac-12 last year. Great history in the Washington Huskies over the course of their career. So being able to have him as their head coach is huge. And then Fisch also went on to give credit to Deshaun Foster. After starting the year 1-5, the Bruins have clawed all the way back to being 1 game away from 500. And he mentioned saying, I think Coach Foster's done a tremendous job of getting that team to win the last 3 games in a row. They went to Rutgers and won 35-32. He breaks down Nebraska. He talked about the win last week over Iowa. He goes, Ethan Garbers is playing really good the last couple weeks, especially the last 6 quarters. I thought he's played really well, and I think that they've got some players that are making some Big Ten plays. And that's true. Garber's been great. TJ Harden's coming off a stout game of 125 yards on 20 carries. his best game of the season. Defensively, they got guys all over the field. Jay Toai, Kane Medrano. You got Carson Schwarzenegger, who we'll talk about in a minute. But he gave props to this Bruins team that he is familiar with, has seen a lot of their players, considering most of the defense for UCLA are third and fourth year guys. So to mention Schwarzenegger, he had a huge interview on the Big Ten Network earlier this week, kind of talking about his success this year, the journey he has been on from coming in as a walk-on in 2021, earning a scholarship in 22, and then coming into this season, and he's up for he's semifinalist for 2 awards: the Butkus Award for the best linebacker in the country, and the Burlsworth Award for the best, most outstanding walk-on of the season in all of college football. And those are national awards. So real hat tip to Carson Schwarzenegger and what he's been able to do. I mean, the guy had 27 career tackles heading into his junior season this year. He is leading in every category. He's got over 80 total tackles. He is second on the team in sacks. He had 2 interceptions, the first 2 of his career last week. Carson's been nothing short of incredible, and his story incredible as well. And he had this to say. Dave Resvine, a big-time guy at Big Ten Network, sat down with Schwarzenegger and had a conversation. And Carson said, "I think entering this year, I just knew whatever opportunity I got, I was going to make sure that when I was on the field, I was given 100%. I think that's all I came into this year with, and been given some great opportunities and tried to make the most of them." And he's done that. I mean, he has really done that, taken advantage of opportunities, because as soon as he stepped on the field this year, even against the best teams like the LSU, Penn State, Indiana, Oregon games, and there was a stretch there where when Schwarzenegger had 5 games of 10-plus tackles, tying the legend Eric Kendrick's number of games, and that was during those competitions with nationally ranked teams. So when you look at it, he is arguably the best linebacker in all of college football, and just for him to kind of grow over 3 short seasons to be the player he is, it's quite impressive. Carson was actually recruited not much out of high school by many programs. That's what led him to being a walk-on, but he knew that he wanted to go to UCLA. So he had said in the interview that either he was going to try to walk on regardless if they gave him a call or not, or he was just going to go as a student. So for Schwarzenegger, more exceptional recognition for the season he's had. And really, really excited to see what he's able to do in the last 3 games of the season, and hopefully in a bowl game at the end of the year during the holidays. Last thing we're going to talk about here is a few recruiting pieces. First, we're going to start out with a visit that is coming next week for the Crosstown Showdown, Bruins versus Trojans at the Rose Bowl. It's 2027 defensive back Isaiah Chong from Hawaii, from Iwa Beach, Hawaii. He is going to be making an official visit. He is a sophomore from James Campbell High School, the same exact high school as Titus Molikai Atimalala, both of them from the same alma mater. And Chong is he's not currently ranked by 247 Sports, doesn't have a national ranking or a star, but I mean, he's still young in his career. Does have one offer currently by Nevada. And if all goes well, I can see the Bruins offering him as well. He's got 2 solid coaches along with Foster to help him out, in Cody Whitfield and then also Brian Norwood. Norwood, back in 1988, played for Hawaii as a defensive back. So that connection there is awesome too. And then we mentioned Atimalala and him being from the same high school, but there's 3 other Hawaiian players on this team. So kind of having that connection, that comfortability, knowing that guys from the state of Hawaii are coming over and thriving in the Bruins program, that's a huge boost of confidence. And that's big if Foster and the rest of this Bruins program wants to land Chong. One more piece of recruiting for the Bruins is they have entered the top 10 for a 4-star running back in Brian Bonner Jr. He is currently a 2026 graduate, so he's a junior right now. But being a 4-star, I mean, he's got a lot of big time offers. Teams like Washington, Georgia, Penn State, Tennessee, USC, UCLA, and a few other Big Ten schools as well. This would be a massive pickup for the Bruins if they're able to land Bonner. He's coming from Valencia, California, which is only about 30 to 45 minutes away from campus of UCLA, about an hour and a half from USC, and then also a 5-hour trip north if you wanted to go to Cal Berkeley. So when you look at the three schools, and Stanford, excuse me, so that's also a far drive for him as well. So any of those California schools that are trying to land Bonner along with the Bruins, it's going to be a lot farther of a drive for him, for his friends and family to come see him. And it just depends on how close or how far he wants to be from home. Every recruit varies. Speaking from experience, I wanted to be somewhat far away from home to kind of get my own feel of independence while also being close enough that I could go back and see my family during an emergency or anything that could occur, or just missing them, So that kind of plays into the favor of the Bruins, I would think. He's the 100th ranked player in his class of 2026 in the entire country. He's the 17th ranked player in California. That's all by 247 Sports. And he would be taken under the wing of head coach Deshaun Foster, who was a National Football League running back for the Carolina Panthers. He played for several seasons. And that is the guy that you want coaching you if you're a highly touted running back, someone that's played at the next level. He had 6 years of experience spanning between the Panthers and then also his final year with the Niners. Foster would be, if not the very best pick from all of the teams that have tried to recruit him and offered him so far this year. In his sophomore season last year, Bonner was used in every single way. He had 500 rushing yards, 457 receiving, and 275 yards on kick return. So don't be surprised if Bonner were to commit to the Bruins or wherever he goes, he'll be utilized not only in the run game, but in a little bit of a passing game, coming wheel route out of the backfield, little flat route, and then you could see him returning punts as well. So good stuff from the Bruins when it comes to tracking down a few recruits. They got a kid on a visit in Isaiah Chong. That's coming next week. And then also Brian Bonner Jr., the 4-star running back. He is down to his final 10 teams before he makes his commitment very soon. Bruins and Huskies, it's Jed Fish versus Deshaun Foster, a couple coaches that were together as on the same sideline back in 2017. They're going to face each other as first-year head coaches with their respective programs. This has been the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast on Sports Illustrated with your host, Tom Cavanaugh. We will see you again tomorrow, everybody. Have a great night.